The power of improving 1% every day. The seed of transformation. Imagine a man walking alone along a dusty road, carrying on his shoulders the weight of his own mistakes and regrets. He feels it is too late to change, that lost years will never return, and that the past demands interest he cannot pay. The shadows of old choices seem to stretch with every step, as if they want to drag him back to the same place as always. But as he passes by an old field, he sees a farmer kneeling, burying small seeds into dry soil that cracks at the touch. Intrigued, he asks, "Why plant in such hard ground? Isn't it foolish to expect fruit where everything looks barren?" The farmer lifts his sun-worn face, smiles serenely, and replies, "Because the soil doesn't need to become fertile all at once. It only needs one seed today, another tomorrow, and another after that. Time and care will do the rest." Each day's effort is small, but when added up, it becomes a miracle. This is the metaphor of our lives, more real than we like to admit. Transformation rarely happens in cinematic leaps, it prefers the silent path of small repeated decisions. The Stoics reminded us of this: we should not long for instant revolution, but for continuous, deliberate, and deep progress. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom is one step by step. Each step, however small, has its own value and builds a trail. And when we look back, we realize the distance covered was built with today's humble brick. Improving 1% every day is so simple that many dismiss it, and so powerful that it silently changes destinies. It is the art of accepting that greatness is born of the ordinary, that consistency is the brush that paints the canvas of life. It is the courage to trade the desire for instant applause for the patience of one who plants, waters, and trusts. This pact with the minimum viable, repeated with honesty, reorganizes character, re-educates desires, and puts the soul under new management. Just as the seed breaks the shell in darkness before touching the light, your change also begins in silence. You don't need to announce anything to anyone, nor wait for perfect conditions, you only need to start. One paragraph read, "A short walk, a no," said to the impulse that always wins, each gesture is a step. Time, that often underestimated ally, amplifies what you deposit into it, and what today is almost invisible, tomorrow will be the tree that offers shade to many. The weight of invisible accumulation. Have you noticed how compound interest turns small amounts into fortunes over the years? The same principle works silently in the mind, body, and soul. A daily effort, almost imperceptible, accumulates, solidifies, and thickens until it shapes a new human being. What yesterday was only an attempt, today becomes a trait. What today is a trait, tomorrow becomes identity. Invisible accumulation is both discreet and relentless, it never fails to record what you repeat. The Stoics understood that virtue is born of habit, not from grand intentions, but from consistent practices. No one becomes wise by accident, wisdom is the arithmetic sum of daily choices pointing in the same direction. Seneca reminds us, life is long enough if we know how to use it. To use life well is not to collect random experiences, but to use each moment as a brick in a greater building. Time is not an enemy, it is the architect shaping what you insist on becoming. The 1% may look like nothing today, but a year from now it multiplies its own strength. It is like a whisper that becomes a chorus, a trickle of water that becomes a river. Imagine, 1% better each day is more than a motivational metaphor, it is a law of growth. You move toward excellence not through the violence of occasional effort, but through the persistent softness of daily life. Muscles, ideas, and virtues obey the same principle, they are shaped by what you repeat with intention. Invisible accumulation works in both directions. Small concessions also add up, today's procrastination collects its toll tomorrow. The word not spoken with courage today becomes heavy silence tomorrow. Neglected care today returns as fragility when you most need strength. That's why the 1% is more than a technique, it is an ethic. It is the commitment to recognize that everything counts, nothing is neutral, and every gesture steers destiny by a millimeters that, added up, change the map. Chapter 3, The Discipline of Beginning. Starting is the greatest barrier, not from lack of ability, but from an excess of phantoms. We project the whole mountain in our minds, measure the altitude, imagine the cold at the summit, feel vertigo before taking the first step. And then, we freeze. The secret is not to confront the mountain, but to negotiate with the next meter. A tiny ritual, opening the book, tying the shoes, taking a deep breath, dissolves inertia and earns the right to advance. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote daily reminders to himself: patience, discipline, self-control. He did not seek to become the empire's greatest philosopher in a single morning, he sought only to act with virtue that day. This practical humility disarms the anxiety of becoming and focuses energy on being. Beginning small is an act of spiritual intelligence. You reduce friction, lower the demand, and give your brain the joy of a possible victory. Whether reading one page, practicing 5 minutes of silence, doing a short workout, or finally making a postponed phone call, the small beginning, repeated, creates deep roots. There is a secret alchemy in beginning. It breaks the curse of later and educates the will for now. Those who try to change everything at once get lost in the labyrinth of their own expectations. Those who are content to begin find the door that leads to the hallway of results. Beginning is also an aesthetic decision, choosing the beauty of the process over the anxiety for results. It is accepting that perfection is not a starting point, but the outcome of many refined imperfections. The beginning, by definition, is clumsy. And that's okay. The 1% protects you from both pride and giving up. It is humble enough to fit into the day, and solid enough to sustain the year. Chapter 4, The Power of Consistency. Consistency is the secret of the great, because it turns virtue into habit and habit into character. Intensity impresses, but frequency builds. The world applauds fireworks, life rewards embers that don't go out. Consistency is discreet, almost shy, but unshakably faithful to the goal. It shows up on good days and, above all, on bad ones, when motivation doesn't come and the body asks for excuses. The Stoics called prohairesis the capacity to govern the mind before external chaos. Consistency is the muscle of this faculty. It keeps the helm steady when waves try to rip it from your hands. You cannot control the wind, the tide, or the moods of those on the boat, but you can control the act of rowing, rowing today, rowing tomorrow, rowing again, until the coast appears. If you wake up and do something that brings you closer to your best self, however small, you become unbreakable. It's like sharpening a sword every day. At first, almost no difference is seen. Over time, the blade becomes flawless, able to cut through difficulties with calm precision. Consistency replaces the drama of intensity with the poetry of repetition. It does not promise applause, it offers results. The daily 1% is a silent pact with consistency. You sign this contract by choosing the possible act over the elegant excuse, the modest progress over the sophisticated theory. Time, that great multiplier, takes care of amplifying what you deposit into it. Consistency is loyalty to the future you desire, loyalty demonstrated in small daily proofs. Chapter 5, The Enemy, Haste. We live in the age of haste, with clocks ruling us and screens accelerating our desires. We want muscles in a week, wealth in a month, wisdom in a year, and life, stubborn, obeys a different rhythm. Haste is seductive because it offers the fantasy of a shortcut, but like all spells, it comes at a high price: superficiality, anxiety, chronic frustration. Epictetus warned, if someone shows you the way, follow it slowly. It doesn't matter how far you go, as long as you do not stop. Haste is the enemy of depth because it turns study into scanning, conversation into interruption, training into hollow repetition. What could become a deep-rooted plant grows instead as a greenhouse sprout, fast, fragile, unable to withstand the wind. Improving 1% a day is a declaration of independence from the culture of immediacy. It is looking at the harvest without forcing the seasons, respecting the winter of preparation, the spring of the bud, the summer of work, and the autumn of the fruit. Those who accept life's natural rhythm discover productive peace. They create without rush, advance without noise, deepen without showiness. Deliberate slowness is not laziness, it is wisdom. It allows one to see what haste hides: details, nuances, subtle signals along the path. When the world accelerates, slow down within. The daily 1% is the rhythm of those who intend to last, not just appear. Chapter 6: The Power of Microactions. A habit rarely emerges from a grand gesture. Almost always, it sprouts from microactions that seem irrelevant to outsiders but gradually align well with purpose. Cleanthes compared life to water that falls drop by drop until it forms a river. It is the drop that wears away the stone, not by force, but by consistency. Writing down 3 gratitudes in the morning trains the brain to seek light before problems. Taking a deep breath in the face of conflict gives seconds the power to prevent words that last years. Choosing the right word instead of the aggressive one teaches the tongue to serve peace, not vanity. Turning off the phone an hour earlier creates a nightly sanctuary where sleep restores what the day consumed. Each microaction is a public statement, even if silent, of who you want to become. By repeating these gestures, you send letters to the future proving you can be trusted. Nothing is small when repeated, nothing is irrelevant when consistent. The sum of microactions reshapes neural pathways, pacifies the heart, and strengthens the body. Moral greatness is an architecture built from details. The daily 1% collects these discrete bricks, lays them patiently, and raises a house that contains your best version. When storms come, and they will, it is the strength of these microactions that keeps the roof standing. Chapter 7: 1% in Body, Mind, and Soul. Improving 1% is not pushing a single pointer, it is tuning the entire orchestra. Body, mind, and soul are instruments that resonate together, disharmonize one, and the music loses coherence. The Stoic knows that excellence is holistic. Reading a lot but neglecting the body is insufficient, training hard while abandoning the spirit is incomplete. In the body, a glass of water upon waking, a 20-minute walk, stretching the back after hours sitting, choosing food that sustains, not just seduces. In the short term, it is almost nothing; in the medium term, it is energy; in the long term, it is freedom of movement. In the mind, a page of a good book, 10 minutes of focused study, simple concentration exercises, a notebook where ideas turn from fog into a map. In the soul, an act of kindness without witnesses, an honest prayer, silence that dusts off perceptions and restores clarity. Marcus Aurelius reminded, "What harms the hive harms the bee." What weakens the body disturbs reasoning, what confuses the mind sabotages discipline, what abandons the soul turns achievements into emptiness. The daily 1% rebalances the whole, correcting deviations before they become chasms. When you care for these 3 levels, a quiet strength emerges, unannounced, that the world perceives and respects. It is not arrogance, it is integrity vibrating. Your presence changes, your words carry weight, your gaze calms. This is the beautiful side effect of holistic 1%. Chapter 8, The Fight Against Resistance. We all face internal resistance, the voice whispering, "Do it tomorrow, you can't, this isn't for you." It is cunning, knows your weak spots, and always appears when you approach something important. The Stoics called it attachment to passions, the disorderly desire for comfort, approval, and ease. Each time you choose the 1% even without will, a chain breaks. You prove to yourself that command has returned to your hands. The body learns it can work without drama, the mind learns it can focus without external validation, the soul learns it can be faithful in the dark, when no one applauds. Resistance is not a monster to be defeated at once, but an opponent to be weakened point by point. The scoreboard is daily. Today you rise despite fatigue, tomorrow, you study without motivation, later, you speak respectfully even when angry. Suddenly, you realize the old enemy has lost its breath. The 1% is the sword that cuts the illusion of impossibility. It is not you against the world, it is you against the version of yourself content with crumbs. Overcoming resistance daily is the most humble, and powerful, way to achieve freedom. Chapter 9, Neuroplasticity and the Stoic Brain. Modern science confirms the ancients' intuition, the brain changes with use. Neuroplasticity is the technical term for a daily miracle, connections strengthen when used, weaken when ignored. What you think, feel, and practice frequently becomes a paved road, what you abandon becomes an overgrown trail. Each 1% of discipline acts like a silent mason placing stones where there was mud. Studying a little each day does not merely accumulate information, it refines circuits of attention and memory. Meditating for minutes is not just relaxation, it trains the mind to observe without clinging, to feel without drowning. Training the body is not vanity, it communicates to the brain that you intend to live with vigor. Neuroplasticity also explains why old patterns seem stubborn, they are well-maintained neurological highways. The 1% does not attempt to blow up these roads, it builds new routes that, over time, become more attractive. One day, quietly, you realize you automatically choose the good path, and smile because the automatic now works in your favor. Your brain is fertile soil. What you plant daily, ideas, habits, images, words, will grow. And it will grow with the force of repetition. The 1% is the engineering of this harvest. Chapter 10, Overcoming Procrastination. Procrastination is the bitter art of wasting life in small installments, so small they seem harmless. Later, quietly becomes never. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have little time, but that we waste it." Waste is rarely scandalous, it is ordinary, comfortable, justifiable. The antidote is offensively simple: bring focus to today and reduce the task until it is impossible not to start. It is not about finishing an entire project, but progressing 1%. Writing a line, organizing a drawer, sending a decisive email, studying for 10 minutes. The mind resists the large, it yields to the small. When you understand this, you gain an unfair advantage over inertia. You become someone who begins, advances, accumulates. The 1% transforms you from spectator to participant, planner to doer. Self-confidence ceases to be a phrase, it becomes body memory: I do what I say I will do. There is dignity in small accomplishments. Each partial goal achieved is a vote of confidence in the future. After weeks, what seemed impossible is underway, and procrastination, without a stage, loses its audience. Chapter 11, Virtue as a Guide. Daily 1% is not just a productivity method, it is a school of character. The Stoics sought to live according to 4 pillars: justice, courage, temperance, and wisdom. Improving a little each day aligns you with these pillars in the realm of action, not theory. Justice, treating others with respect in small interactions, keeping simple promises, speaking truth when omission would be easy. Courage, saying no to what corrupts, yes to what requires effort, approaching what is feared in doses that strengthen. Temperance, eating mindfully, speaking measuredly, using technology as a tool, not a crutch. Wisdom, learning continuously, revisiting convictions, adjusting course when facts demand. Character is carved slowly, like marble worked with patience. Each chisel strike is a day, each polish, a corrected regret, each detail, an ethical choice when no one is watching. One day, the statue emerges, not perfect, but honest. When virtue is your guide, the 1% gains a soul. You are not merely optimizing your schedule, you are living with dignity. And in the end, that is the only goal that truly matters. Chapter 12, The Side Effect, Inspiring Others. When you improve 1% daily, you do not only transform yourself. Your life begins to emit a different sound, a frequency of seriousness and serenity that others perceive. Unconsciously, your example inspires family, colleagues, friends, and even strangers. Discipline is contagious, courage awakens courage, peace invites calm. No preaching is needed, just live. The best advertisement for change is daily consistency. People who once observed you skeptically begin adjusting their own posture. A child witnessing your patience learns to speak kindly. A colleague seeing your consistency resumes a forgotten project. The world around you reorganizes, millimeter by millimeter. This is the social power of 1%, it creates networks of silent influence. You become more than someone seeking transformation, you become an instrument of collective change. Your biography becomes a manual of possibilities for those who thought it was too late. In the end, the greatest generosity is to set an example. Words inspire, presence convinces. Daily improvement is giving the world a version of yourself that helps others improve too. Chapter 13, The Legacy of 1%. Think about how you will be remembered. Not by inflated promises that never became action, but by the humble habits you maintained. Legacy is not a monument, it is a trail. Those who come after can walk your steps and go further. If every day you offered 1% more kindness, wisdom, or strength, your life becomes a silent testament of growth. People touched by your routine will miss your consistency when you're gone, and perhaps emulate it. This is the inheritance that cannot be broken, lost, or divided, the inheritance of example. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The life of a man is what his thoughts make of it." If your thoughts improve 1% daily, your words and actions will follow. Gradually, the world around you becomes more breathable. A good legacy is not grand, it is livable. Accumulated daily 1% builds a name that matters. Not perfect, not impeccable, but reliable. And in a world starving for trust, that is gold. Chapter 14, The Call to Action. Now, look at yourself with honesty. What is the 1% you can do today? Not tomorrow, not when you have time, not when inspiration comes. Today. The 1% lives in the schedule, not the dream, in the calendar, not the desire. Write it down, make it visible, strip it of drama, and give it concrete form. It could be a word left unsaid in anger, a forgiveness sent, a step taken in exercise, a page read, 10 minutes of silence, 5 of prayer, 3 of stretching. Do something so small it would be embarrassing not to do. Gain momentum. Honor the day with proof of respect for your future. When fatigue comes, and it will, remember, it is not the mountain you need to move, but the foot you need to lift. The 1% is always possible because it is designed to survive the worst day. And when the best day arrives, it multiplies into 5%, 10%, 20%, without notice. Plant the seed. Water it. Trust time. And one day, looking back, you will see that you not only changed your life but became living proof that greatness is the sum of small acts performed with soul. Conclusion: the echo of consistency. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control the world, but we can control our choices, and in them lies our dignity. Improving 1% every day is repeatedly choosing what is good, just, and necessary, even when no one is watching. It is a path without spotlights, but with enough light for the next step. In the end, the sum of these steps builds a solid life, meaningful work, kinder relationships, a stronger body, a clearer mind, a lighter soul. You won't need to prove anything to anyone, because life itself will prove it for you. And when the winds change, because they always do, you will stand firm, not by luck, but by structure. This is the call that resonates when the video ends. Do not chase the extraordinary, pierce the ordinary with presence, intention, and repetition. Choose the 1% today, tomorrow, and the day after. Make time your ally and consistency your prayer. For in the end, true greatness is not a leap, it is a measure. It is not a shout, it is a pulse. It is the soft echo of discipline that, day after day, transforms an ordinary human into someone rarely seen, upright, serene, useful, and free.